WRDW Plus, your forecast, your safety, your community. Always keeping you ahead of the changing weather.
Well, of course, welcome into this special edition of First Alert Focus here. It is Friday. Another week has come and gone. We are very much into the window of this winter storm that's going to be coming in, Riley.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't say there's necessarily a ton of adjustments to the forecast from what we said yesterday, but it's just looking more and more consistent that there will be some ice found across the area later this weekend. And we have had one upgrade to our winter storm watch. Saluda County is now underneath an ice storm warning. So I would imagine more of those watch counties turn into an ice storm warning or a winter weather advisory as we get later into this afternoon.
Yeah, that extends all the way up 85 in the North Georgia. We had just kind of a cluster there. We didn't have any others for the ice storm warning, but Saluda County right there. So we are talking about that. We're talking about kind of the accumulation of ice. We'll look at that momentarily throughout, but we can kind of just talk about the timing and like you just mentioned, the confidence is still kind of a Saturday night into early first half of Sunday, you know, and temperatures and timing are possibly still a little bit kind of varying between some higher resolution models that are coming in for the full storm system now.
And I think that's going to be the toughest part, even though we're getting closer. The toughest part Sunday is going to be where does that freezing line set up later into our Sunday afternoon when the second wave passes through into Sunday night. Our model guidance is showing temperatures as high as near 60 degrees in Swainsboro, but still below freezing in Saluda as our second wave pushes into by Sunday night. So that's going to be tricky. That's the wedge. We usually do see very big temperature differences over a very short a very short distance. And I think that's going to be tricky to see if maybe we see some additional ice totals Sunday night in maybe a few spots.
Yeah, so this may look familiar and really, as you were saying, not a lot of adjustments, keeping that fluid as well, just because more and more of those northern counties kind of come into play now that Saluda County's in that ice storm warning. Still kind of the edge of the Wilkes, Lincoln, McCormick County will also be possibly affected, maybe a little bit more in some of those accumulation totals as well.
Definitely so. And I think for us here around I-20, including places like, say, Thompson, Evans, Grovetown, Harlem, Augusta, Aiken, North Augusta, we're kind of in that threat to where we could possibly see up to a quarter of an inch, and that would lead to some travel disruptions, maybe some power outages in a few spots. But I think to help quell any fears or any type of just concerns people have. I know a lot of people think back to the 2014 ice storm.
Yeah.
For that ice storm, we had over an inch of ice in most spots. We're expecting most likely a fourth to maybe on the higher end, half of that amount of ice. So we're not expecting complete catastrophic conditions like that ice storm.
Yeah, so that's good news. So when we're talking about quarter to maybe up to a half at most, we can kind of see where some of these issues are going to lie with the accumulation on there, what that's going to be doing to power lines, what that's going to be doing to some of the trees and forestry around here as well.
Definitely so. And I think ice, once you get up to a quarter of an inch, that's when power lines, tree limbs starting to sag, gain some weight. Those can break off, lead to some scattered power outages. Now, with the power outages we're expecting from this storm, they're not really expected to last more than a day or two. I would say generally expecting those power to get back on at most spots within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I think we will see some power outages, but not necessarily anything that lasts days and days or even weeks.
I'm pretty sure crews are already, I mean, probably days out, they were already prepping regardless of if totals were going to kind of go up and down. They were probably already mobilizing in this area because there's a history of what happened a little more than a decade ago. So you can feel comforted in that. At least I do. I mean, I do.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that they're already ahead of that as well. So when we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and kind of run you through a little bit more timing and what the weekend's going to look like more next. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Now, this is a map that's kind of adjusted a little bit. We've noticed that moderate impact line has kind of gotten a little bit farther south of Interstate 20. So kind of take us through that, Riley.
Yeah, with that orange color you're seeing on the map, that goes as far south as around Rennes, Hephzibah, all the way down to New Ellington, and even over into northern Barnwell County for places like Williston, all the way over to Warrenton and Sparta. So moderate impacts expected there. That's where it's going to be most dangerous to be on the roadways during that time frame we've been talking about, Saturday night through Sunday morning, and also where we could expect some of those scattered power outages. So that's where we're expecting ice accumulations to be highest, lining up with that forecast we were just showing y'all before the break. So that's where we could get up to a 1/4 inch of ice, where those moderate impacts are highlighted there, and even higher totals possible in the northern CSRA.
Okay, as well. Now, we've talked a lot about what timing this is going to be. We're looking mostly at kind of an overnight Saturday into the first half of Sunday. But even then, it's all about the temperatures. They will be falling. Yeah. They're not staying in the 40s. That's kind of from midnight to about sunrise. But then it's really just kind of a question mark there as well. You know, when they start to get to freezing, and then how long do they stay below freezing with that second wave you talked about on Sunday, too.
And that's going to be the tricky part of the wedge. Models don't always materialize the wedge too accurately. A lot of times the wedge can linger a lot longer than what models anticipate. They erode it too quickly. So I think that will be definitely a tricky part. Temperatures expected to start getting below freezing by late Saturday afternoon. That would kind of be the earliest, most likely a couple of hours after sunset Saturday. And then that's when precip is starting to fall across the area heading into our Saturday night through Sunday morning. And then we'll most likely get above freezing by the time we get to much later into the day on Sunday. But then we are expecting that second wave to show up later Sunday evening into Sunday night. And that could still pose a threat to some spots because we're expecting temperatures to be near freezing, especially north of I-20 in those counties that have that highest chance for the ice totals.
Right. And this kind of takes us through a little bit more of the timing, kind of goes in the color codes from the top, really moving in. Because Saturday morning looks really quiet. It doesn't appear that there's a whole lot of moisture there. The cold air is starting to move in, but more of the impacts you can start seeing Saturday evening. It's kind of like 5 to 6 o'clock, and then all the way through late Sunday night, which you were just talking about. And then, of course, what are we going to look at for lingering effects? There'll be some rain and warmer temperatures that come through, and that's something we'll run through in the models in just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the tricky part of communicating this forecast, is that we put our first alert weather day starting Saturday, lasting through Monday. I think we get to kind of the middle of Saturday afternoon, people are like, what the heck? Nothing's happening. They got it wrong once again. What's going on? And it's like, no. We're waiting until Saturday evening into Saturday night for really those impacts to start deteriorating across the area. We want people to be prepared by Saturday so you're not kind of scrambling and going about town later into our Saturday evening to get those supplies. Want you to go ahead and be hunkered down by Saturday evening after sunset once that precip does start falling and our temperatures are below freezing, and be prepared to stay hunkered down through at least Sunday morning until we get to above freezing Sunday afternoon.
Yep, good things to do. There's still time to prepare. If those quality items you need that we'll kind of look at as well as the food and the water supply, three days supply of that, and if you need your fuel as well for generators that you may be using. So yeah, I think we can probably just kind of guarantee there's going to be some type of power outages. Just how many, it's all dependent on that track coming on through here. So I tell you what, a quick break. We're going to run the models and actually give you a little bit more indication of where we think the precipitation and temperatures are coming together right after this. Stay with us.
All right, here we go, folks. Let's look at our in-house graph model. Here's Saturday morning. We're still well above freezing. It's a cloudy start tomorrow morning. As we get later through the day, temperatures should start to drop later into the afternoon. By around 5 o'clock, we're starting to notice some precip moving into the region. Temperatures are getting closer to freezing, should be below freezing as we head later into our Saturday night. There's midnight heading into early Sunday morning, and that's when we're expecting everyone to be below freezing. This is when we're expecting that accumulating ice across the area in the way of freezing rain. Not expecting a ton of sleet. I think this will be mainly a freezing rain event for us. That'll continue through Sunday morning. You can see our temps still below freezing across the entire area. Once we get later into our Sunday afternoon, we're hovering close to freezing, still near 1 p.m. So anything that is frozen early Sunday should stay frozen at least through around lunchtime. Now watch what happens later into our Sunday evening. We are expecting that chance for more additional rain, but take a look at the temperatures right there as that heavier rain is pushing through. Notice Swainsboro is in the 50s, but in Saluda, they're below freezing. So that is the strength of the wedge and the power of the wedge. It can lead to just drastic temperature differences over just about an hour and a half drive across the area. So for us there at Augusta, it's showing us being in the mid-30s, which would be above freezing, just a cold rain. But say this model is just off by 3 degrees. Well, that means all this additional rainfall is accumulating and leading to more additional freezing rain concerns across the area. So how strong will that wedge be? Remember, we run a 3-degree guarantee campaign to where if we're within 3 degrees of the high temperature, we give away money to a charity. So within 3 degrees is kind of a really good forecast.
That's more of a big deal this time.
And I mean, that 3 degrees makes all the difference on if this model is staying just a tad too warm, or maybe it's a tad too cool. Maybe we're a little bit warmer, but I would say the wedge usually wins these events. So that's another concern we're watching and why we are extending our first alert through Monday, because that additional precip will fall down close to freezing as we head towards Monday morning. So that could lead to some more frozen conditions, but we eventually get above freezing later into our Monday afternoon. So first alert weather days in effect Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Make sure you're staying updated on the forecast the rest of today. We'll have additional updates.
Okay, here's Nick Proto with Fastcast. Thanks for joining us.